Imagine saving for years to buy your dream home, finally moving in, and one of your favorite things is the wide, private driveway. Big enough for your truck, your wife's car, even your son's old Mustang project. But what if I told you that my HOA decided my driveway wasn't mine anymore? They treated it like a free parking lot, ignoring every complaint I made. What started as one annoying car turned into an all-out war with the board. And by the end of it, not only did they lose their cars, but I gained a Jeep. Here's how it happened. When I first bought my house, the main selling point wasn't the backyard, the kitchen, or even the view. It was the driveway. Wide, private, no shared access, just mine. I imagined pulling in after work, parking my truck with space to spare, and watching my wife roll in behind me. My son even had plans to restore his old Mustang in the corner. I loved the independence. No cramped street parking, no fighting over space, no arguments with neighbors. Just peace. At least, that's what I thought. The first few months were perfect. Every night, I'd come home, pull into my driveway, and smile. But peace in an HOA neighborhood never lasts forever. I didn't know it yet, but that driveway was about to become a battleground. And the people who thought they ran the neighborhood? They were about to discover I wasn't the kind of homeowner who backed down. Because when you try to take something that's mine, I don't just fight back. I win. One evening, I came home from work and froze. Sitting dead center in my driveway was a shiny black SUV. I thought maybe it was a delivery driver or a lost visitor. But no, it belonged to one of the HOA board members. I knocked politely. They opened the door, looking irritated, like I was the inconvenience. "Could you please move your car?" I asked, trying to stay calm. They sighed, rolled their eyes, and eventually moved it. No apology. No explanation. Just pure annoyance. I brushed it off. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it wouldn't happen again. But the next week, there were 2 cars in my driveway. Then 3. HOA members, and even their friends, started using it like a free parking lot. It wasn't an accident anymore. It was entitlement. I complained through the proper channels. I emailed, called, even attended the monthly HOA meeting. That's when I met Karen, the president. She smiled smugly as she told me, street parking is limited. As part of this community, you're expected to make reasonable accommodations. I looked her dead in the eye. It's my driveway, not community property. She smirked. If you don't like it, maybe this neighborhood isn't right for you. That was the moment I realized this wasn't going to stop. Karen wasn't just dismissing me. She was testing me. The HOA thought they owned me, my property, my driveway. From then on, the intrusions escalated. Cars left overnight. Guests I didn't even know would pull in and walk across my yard like it was their personal parking pass. Every time, I documented it. Pictures, dates, times. And every time I confronted the board, Karen laughed it off. "You're overreacting. Be a good neighbor." Neighbors whispered about how Karen and her board had been bullying people for years. But no one ever fought back. That's when I decided I wasn't going to be another victim. I smiled politely, nodded at their excuses, but inside I was boiling. And while they thought I was giving up, I was actually preparing. Because the next time I came home and saw a car in my driveway, I wasn't going to knock on doors. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. It happened on a Friday night. I pulled in late and found 2 cars blocking my driveway completely. But this time, I didn't waste my breath. Instead, I pulled out my phone and made a single call to a tow company I'd used for my rental properties. Within an hour, both cars were gone. The next morning, HOA members stormed up to my door, furious. "Where are our cars?" they demanded. I leaned on the doorframe and calmly explained, they weren't on community property. They were on my driveway. State law allows me to tow unauthorized vehicles. If you don't like it, stop parking there. They thought I was bluffing. They thought fear would make me cave. But fear works both ways. That weekend, they tried to teach me a lesson. When I came home Sunday, I couldn't believe my eyes. 5 cars, lined up across my driveway. A coordinated stunt. They wanted a war? Good. Because I don't lose wars. I didn't hesitate. I called the tow company again. Within hours, every single car was hooked, hauled, and gone. The HOA board went berserk. They pounded on my door, threatened fines, even claimed I was violating community spirit. But I stayed calm. You parked on private property. I didn't touch your cars. The state did. End of story. Behind them, neighbors started gathering. Some watched silently. Others grinned. Word was spreading fast. Someone was finally standing up to the board. The board screamed louder, their threats getting wilder. But the truth was simple. The law was on my side. Still, I knew this wasn't over. Because once pride is wounded, people don't back down. And sure enough, when the tow yard gave them a deadline to reclaim their cars and pay the fees, they didn't. They assumed I'd crack. They assumed I'd beg for peace. Instead, they made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because those cars weren't just sitting in impound. They were about to be auctioned. See, the tow company I used also ran an impound auction yard. After a set period, unclaimed vehicles weren't just held. They were legally auctioned off. The HOA members missed the deadline. Whether it was pride, arrogance, or stupidity, they refused to pay. And that's when I saw my opportunity. At the auction, I walked through rows of cars. Guess what was sitting there? A nearly brand new Jeep, belonging to one of Karen's closest friends. I placed my bid. The hammer fell. And just like that, I drove home in a Jeep worth tens of thousands, for a fraction of the price. So when the HOA board came storming back, demanding their cars, I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I simply pulled out the paperwork. You knew the rules. I warned you. You parked on private property without permission. I didn't sell your cars. The state did. The look on their faces? Priceless. The fallout was delicious. Board members had to explain to their families why their cars were gone. Karen tried to rally the neighborhood against me, but the plan backfired. Because for years, she had bullied people, fined them for petty violations, and abused her power. Now, someone had finally beaten her at her own game. Neighbors came up to shake my hand, pat me on the back, even thank me. About time someone stood up to them, they said. At the next HOA meeting, the tension was electric. Several non-board members demanded Karen resign. She didn't, but her influence collapsed overnight. Now, my driveway is the most respected strip of concrete in the entire neighborhood. Not a single car parks there without my permission. Not the board. Not their guests. Not even delivery drivers. Every time I back my truck out of the garage, I grin. Because the HOA thought they could steal my driveway. Instead, they lost their cars. And I gained a Jeep.